All right, hi everybody. So we're going to talk real quick about stockpiling and what it can serve as a benefit for your farm and what you need to be doing here in the near future to get that moving. With us today we have Pete Conkle from NRCS Soil and Water, and he is a bit of an expert in this area. So we're going to cover just a few things that you need to be aware of. So Pete, what are some of the benefits of stockpiling? Why would I want to do this on my
Sure. So some of the benefits that we've seen on our place is obviously the reduction in hay. We don't have to make nearly as much hay or feed it, and then also so that will reduce our feed costs. And then less feed hauled in means less manure hauled back out. By spreading those cattle out in the wintertime, we're already spreading those nutrients out on the ground, so it works out pretty well for us. We see the plants in the springtime, they become more resilient. It seems like they're used to those grazing conditions. I feel that that it helps our plant health. And then some of the other stuff, we don't have as much crowding. If they're out on stockpile grass, they're not crowded up around a bale ring. And if they're not around a bale ring, we don't have as much mud. And so that, to me, is outweighs a lot of stuff too. Plus, you can see your cows every day, so I kind of like that benefit as well.
When should I get the process moving?
Now is a great time, end of August, mid-August on into September 15th is kind of like my deadline there. We're in Hanoverton, so we're a little bit further south than where we're at today here in Canfield. But so I kind of look at that September 15th deadline as, we need to wrap up by then. So.
Okay. How do I pick a field or an area that I want to use as my stockpile?
Sure. So some of the considerations I look at, one would be access to water. We've got to have, access, good, reliable water source. They will eat some snow if we happen to have snow that time of year, but we really need to have some sort of plan for water. A plan for electrifying the fence as well. With ours, we move daily, even on stockpile grass, so we've got to have some sort of electricity to the fence. There's a lot of battery operated, powered, energized fencers now, and even some of the solar fencers that come a long way with, so you can use those as well. High and dry is another consideration. I know some of the Mahoning County producers might be a little bit, that might be a little bit more of a problem with them. Down where we're at, got a little bit of roll to the ground. Things drain off fairly well, so but high and dry would be an ideal situation. And then some sort of severe weather protection, especially if you're going to be grazing December, January, either a south or east facing slope, so those cattle can catch a little bit of break from the weather, or some of the things I look for when we start picking stockpile field.
What do you need to do to prepare that field?
Like this year it's just with this crazy weather, we've seen some thin stands. So if it's real thin, you may want to look at like some forage oats or even just bin run oats, going in interseeding those. There are some forage type brassicas that we've used. I'm not a big fan of the big bulb turnips for stockpile, but like there is some forage type with more top to them that I really like. You could go in right now, interseed a lot of that stuff, and have a lot of feed come November, December, or even into January before it starts to break down. Some of the other stuff that I would probably look at is, even if it was just driving some corner posts to pull temporary fence off of, that would make things a lot easier that December, January time frame, instead of trying to get temporary posts in that you're pulling off of and things. So, but those are a couple of the ideas I'd start with.
Okay. What type of fertilizer should a farmer be looking at?
Sure. So, I'm big with the urea is going to be your number one fertilizer choice, whether you use like urea with agritane, but obviously a nitrogen source is someplace. For the money, I think the nitrogen, is where it needs to be, and it stays there. We've seen some hot, dry days here the last few days. If you didn't have like a product like agritane on it, you're probably going to lose a lot of the nitrogen to volatilization if you're just using straight urea. Something else to think about is a lot of these grasses are craving the sulfur that we don't get from the coal and burning power plants anymore. So maybe a mixture like ammonium sulfate and urea. Those are some of the stuff I'd be looking at as far as fertilizers.
Okay. So that's a bit of stockpiling in a nutshell. But again, those factors you want to consider are where should you start? You know, which field or do you think is capable of being your stockpiling field? You want to look at preparing the field soon, and also be considering what your fertilizer needs are. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call at the extension office or call up your local soil and water, and they will point you in the right direction.